Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to EV Revolution. I am your content creator, Dr. B. It's wonderful to have you back to the website and to the channel. I'm going to apologize for the kids outside in the other room. They are playing, so you might get some sounds and such, and maybe they're even going to fight. Who knows? Anyway, today I'm going to continue in the what is it category of our videos, and we're going to focus today on rubrics, one of the specific elements that I will be using in the class, and they will be helping you and me to do a better job. And I want to explain what they are, why do I use them and who they're for, how do they get used, and when will you be presented with them, to give you a kind of a well-rounded idea of how these tools are used in the class. Now, I do know that there are many actually, professors who use rubrics, so you might be familiar with them if you have had another English class with another professor. But if you are new to the university system, if you are new to DCU, and this is your first English class, this is your first class, then this will be very, very helpful for you in terms of how we evaluate. The reason is, if you've come out of the high school system, this style of evaluation is almost non-existent. I know this because my wife is Korean, and she was a high school teacher, and she's now a middle school teacher. So this concept of rubric marking is not really something used at all, but it is quite common in Western education, and that's why a lot of teachers use them at DCU. So let me get right into explaining what all of this is. First of all, what are they? What are rubrics? Well, essentially, rubrics are a way to provide a little bit more objectivity in the grading system throughout the entire semester. One criticism that, not necessarily me, but one criticism that I've thought about is, how do we make marking for the students a little bit more objective and less subjective? Subjective means that I'll give a student blah, blah, blah mark because I feel like it. I feel like it, right? With a rubric, as a teacher, I have a series of criteria that I evaluate on. And therefore, I have something on a piece of paper that I can see, and I can apply that to you in my professional capacity as your educator. So there is, there is a little bit more, some might argue even a lot more objectivity when using a rubric. So that's why we're using them. Now, why do I use them and who are they for? Well, they are for both the teachers and the students simultaneously. This is not a just for the students sort of piece of paper. For the students, however, rubrics are important because you will then understand what the grading process is and what I am going to be evaluating you on. So, for example, let's say we're doing an individual presentation, or you're doing an individual presentation, and you have a rubric, and one of those items will be body language. How do you use body language in your presentation? And guess what? Throughout the whole semester, body language is going to be one of the things that I focus on and help you use in the classroom, in your conversation, using hand gestures, using eye contact to the classroom, using your body to point and gesture to things around you. That is body language. So, there's lots of other things about body language. That might be a good idea for another video. I think I might do that. So that's one thing that rubrics will be for. As students, you will know what I'm going to be marking on, and then you, of course, will in turn be able to shift the way that you do your presentation to meet the needs of the rubric. So again, to use my body language example, if body language is in the rubric, and when you do your presentation, if you're very physical, if you're using eye contact, if you're smiling, if you're pointing to a PPT, let's say, that all counts and your rubric score will go higher on that section. However, if you stand there and you're just like, hello, I'm doing my presentation and yes, let's do this, right? You have body language, but your body language is not natural, and therefore your score is going to decline on that particular area of the rubric standard. So that will be, I think, a helpful tool for you to understand how I'm going to be evaluating. Now, as far as rubrics for me, how do they help me, or why do I use them? Well, because it provides continuity for all of the students. All of the students are going to be evaluated using the same markers, using the same standards. That means some students, according to the standards, are going to perform better, but I'm using the same standard as I am for a student who does not do as well. That is an important facet. And then if student A comes to me and says, teacher, why did I not do very well? I think I did a good presentation. I'll be able to look at the rubric evaluation and I'll be able to say, okay, you did all right on this and this. However, these three areas you got below average and therefore your score was not as strong. So that's the way that I can use it, because then I can in turn help you for your next presentation. I can help you focus on those areas that you need to improve upon. So that is the why and the who. How? How are we going to use them then? Well, all of the rubrics will be provided to you in two formats. The first is a digital format in the LMS, the Learning Management System for DCU. There's going to be a section in there. I don't remember what the section is offhand, but the section, I will upload those rubrics. They'll be on a Word document or a PDF, and they will go to that particular section, and you will be able to see the rubric on the LMS, and you can even have them on your hand phone, because LMS you can access right off your phone and you can see those documents if you don't have your portfolio. Segue, the second reason, or the second area that you can use them is through your portfolio. Now, portfolio is another up-and-coming video that I'm going to do in the What Is It series, but essentially the portfolio is going to be a folder. It's going to have your name on it. It's going to be color-coded to the class. And in that folder is going to be a series of papers that will be collected and used throughout the semester, including the rubrics. So you will have a digital copy of the rubric and you'll have a paper copy of the rubric. And again, portfolio is going to be something that or the portfolio section will be something that I will tape or record rather at another time. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. I apologize. So each assignment, the next part of how I'm going to use them is each assignment that we have is going to have a different rubric. The reason is an individual presentation, for example, is going to be evaluated differently than a group presentation. Those two things are just not the same. Thereby, I can't use the same rubric to evaluate both of those. Now, there may be some similar sections in each of them, but there will also be differences. in how I evaluate those. And again, I'm going to be talking about those things to you actually a couple of weeks before the presentation comes due. I'm going to, in class, I'm going to have it up on the PPT or up on the projection screen, and I'm going to give you the details and the breakdown of what that rubric is, and explain it to you. And if you have questions, then you can ask me. So that leads me to the last section for today's video. When will you have these rubrics? When will you see them? Well, you're going to see the rubrics as soon as you get your portfolio folder. And that will probably be in week 2, not week 1, but in week 2. Week 1, I will show you the rubric folder. I will show you the portfolio. But week 2 is when I will actually give them to you so that we can have your name on it. The reason I'm doing that is because on occasion I will have students coming into the class in the second week because of a schedule change, or I might have 1 or 2 students who, because of their schedule, go from my class to another class, and I don't want to give them a portfolio because, well, that costs me money to do. It does cost me money to make these. These are not free to me. I'm paying for these out of my own pocket for you. Now, they're not super expensive, but it takes time and effort and a little bit of money to put them together for you. So I don't want to give one to a student who in week 2 is not going to be there. So that's why I'm doing it. So the rubrics will be in the portfolio in week 2. And of course, there will be the explanation of the rubric at least 2 weeks, a minimum of 2 weeks before. Now, I might do it a month before, I might do it 2 weeks before, but you'll have at least 2 weeks before your presentation time to understand the rubric and ask me any questions that you have. So that is a rubric. That is what we're doing. We have the fact that it gives us greater objectivity in the classroom. It helps the students, you, understand how you will be graded. 3, it will give me a criteria for all of the students across the board to evaluate effectively. The information will be provided to you through your portfolio and through the LMS. Each assignment will have a different rubric because each assignment is fundamentally different. And I will give you the portfolio and I will show you the rubrics as soon as you receive your portfolio in week 2. So that's the standard that I'm going to be operating on for all classes, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. All of you will have portfolios. All of you will use rubrics. This is not something only for an advanced student. No, this is across the board. So please keep that in mind. The rubrics, in fact, may be a little different. Maybe they'll be similar, depending on the class. But it's there for you to know nonetheless. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. If you have any questions, comment below. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and the notification bell for all of your updates for EV Revolution. And remember, everybody, be the revolution. Thank you very much. Peace.